Hello, everyone. I've just been having a little well up looking at all your comments and feeling really lucky that this is nice. Um, how are you doing? Sorry, I feel I'm really over emotional now. I've had a lovely day, and then I was just looking through all of your comments and just sort of, I don't know, it feels really nice looking at everybody chatting and how happy you are for me, which is really lovely. So, for any of you that are not on Twitter and haven't seen the news, um, I have been. Uh, I've got a book deal, which is really exciting. So I had a couple of meetings with different publishers, and I was really lucky to be able to choose one that just felt like they were right up my street. Who really um, look for books about women and by women and sort of yeah. So anyway, so the idea is there will be a book out 3rd of September, which you can pre-order now, which I've just seen a few of you have, which has really made my day. So I think it's going to be called Clop actually, and it's sort of an expansion on the tweet. So I really want to not supposed to be smutty and not supposed to be objectifying him, is more sort of about, this dreamy, perfect guy who happens to be in the body of Jurgen Klopp, helping you get through the things that you struggle with. So I've been expanding on that idea for the book, which has been really lovely and a bit scary. And then the thing that blew my mind with it all was that the publishers we were sitting down with, like pretty much every single one of them just said, well, clearly you're a writer. What else do you want to do? And so the deal is for a second book as well, which is just sort of blowing my mind a little bit, really. I've always wanted to be a writer, and I thought I could do it. And then having like these amazing publishers kind of saying, yeah, clearly you could do it. It's been mad. So that's what's been going on with me behind the scenes for the last 3 or 4 weeks. So I haven't been able to talk about any of it, which has just been so difficult. So on top of writing these chapters every day, I've written 10,000 words of new Klopp material. So that's what I've been up to now. Maybe it's overblown in my mind what this is, but the messages I get from you guys, and just sort of, I think it was Claire was the first tweet I saw this morning, was just any news on the news. And this has really made a difference to my confidence in the lockdown, and that's on you guys for getting up at 5 a.m. and for being here every day in the chat. Before I get here, it's made a difference. So yes, you can pre-order, Ben. I know it's on Amazon, and I know a lot of people don't want to do Amazon. But I think it is available through Waterstones and other independent places. I'm not sure if it'll be an audio book. It may not be through Audible, because I don't know if it's going to be long enough to do they like a 30,000 word limit or something or other. But if it's not long enough, there'll be a way I'm reading it out, I expect. Even if it's just us here on YouTube, we'll have a little lock-in and do it together. So that's the news. Thank you for holding out. Thank you. I'm so sorry I couldn't tell you guys before everything, but they wanted to do the press release, and then the bank holiday got in the way. And the publishers have been so lovely. They've been amazing at listening to me and the Klopp book, because there were a few publishers that wanted to do it a certain way, and I was really uncomfortable with it. And there were a lot of people that were like, it'll be like a pastiche of 50 Shades of Grey, and I was sort of like, no, that isn't what it was meant to be at all. It was never really supposed to be smart. It was much sweeter and nicer than that. And this publisher have really catered to my fears of objectifying or getting it wrong. So I'm really excited. A book tour would be lovely. Yeah, that could be. I don't know. The fact that this is happening and the advance on the book is what's letting us go ahead with the house, which is the other thing that's just such a relief, is that we are leaving this flat. I've had a glass of wine, but I've had several glasses of wine. We've lived in this flat for about 4 years. That's honestly been the location for some absolute low points in my life. So I'm very excited to move out. And when we thought we were not going to be able to get the house because of COVID, knocking mine and Tom's earnings off the scale, was was pretty scary, but getting the book just means that we're covered for like a year or so. So it's not such a scary idea to get the house. And the house means we can move on with the adoption process. And that means children finally, after 4 years since I started trying for children. So fingers crossed, some stupid tweets about a person I've barely heard of have really sewn everything up, and it's all coming together. How's my Klopp accent? Georgina says, and Art World says as well, not great. as long as nobody's Swedish. That's all I need to do. It's not write a Swedish character into the book. So cheers. Thank you so much for being lovely, supportive people, and for liking it. There will be a book date near you, and it's a good day. It's a really good day. Cheers. I'm celebrating with a little bit of Sauvignon from a Southern Hemisphere peeps. It's a New Zealand, this one. Sorry to the Aussies, Kim, but that's from New Zealanders. So yeah, right. Chapter. Let's get on to the reason we're actually here. The chapter is very exciting. So pretty much unanimously, there were a few votes here and there on different things. You wanted her to just go to Jack's. So I have listened to your instructions, hence the staircase, and we will we'll see how the chapter goes. Yeah, you all wanted it to go to Jack's. You're very insistent on that. So your wish is my command. She goes to Jack's. So let's find out what happened, shall we? In the beginning of week 5. Is it? I think, no, it can't be week 5. Is it week 5? Week 4 or 5? Oh God, don't know. Anyway, let's read the chapter, shall we, before we get any more pissed. Emma remained where she was on the doorstep, waves of furious heat rippling across her skin and making her want to cry. She was angry with the tears for startling her. She never cried. The frustrated anger at being thought badly of was startlingly overwhelming, especially by Jack, someone she barely knew but who loomed large in her mind as a kind, patient, and calming presence. Her fists balled and unballed by her side as she made up her mind what to do. Before her brain could decide whether it was a good idea, her feet were carrying her up the stairs past the door to her own flat, onto where she could hear Jack and Elliot preparing for a walk in the dark, the door to her rapid knocking. No, it wasn't, said Jack, and Emma felt herself relaxing as she felt him agree with her. The look on her face confronting them wasn't fair at all. Letting me come out for the day with the two of them when they were doing it behind his wife's back wasn't fair at all. Jack attached the leash to Elliot's collar and shut his door, moving past Emma to head out. Emma was stunned. He was still angry. Why are you mad at me? She called after him as he headed down the stairs. Because you should have told me, he shouted back over his shoulder without turning round. Emma's legs found their motion again and she jogged down after him. It wasn't my information to tell. She caught up with him and put a hand on his shoulder, desperate for him to stop walking, but he shook it off and turned on his own. Don't, he said. His eyes were furious on her. I wouldn't have wanted to go out with him if I'd known that was the kind of relationship they were in. You should have told me. How was I supposed to know you'd feel like this? Emma's cheeks were roasting. Why don't you feel like this? I suppose I'm surprised you're okay with people doing that to someone else. I don't feel okay with it. Emma wasn't used to arguing. Pre-moving to Bath, she was barely used to having conversations with friends. Now she was trying to argue with them. But what did you want me to do? I've been trying to get her to break up with him. That's why I had to go through all this today. She indicated her wet clothes. He stood in silence looking at her, working his teeth and frowning, clearly trying to make up his mind what to say to her. I'm sorry, maybe I should have told you, Emma continued, but I think you're being really unfair taking it out on me like this when it's clearly Fiona and Norman that you're mad at. I'm not mad at anyone, said Jack, his jaw firming. You sound like a child saying that. I'm not mad. I just clearly lead quite a different life to you if that's the sort of company you keep. Excuse me, I need to walk Elliot. He made to leave the building. Oh, go fuck yourself. Emma surprised herself with the vehemence of her self-defense. You weren't this high and mighty when you were supplying Fiona with Simon's number, despite knowing she was in a relationship with Norman. Jack stopped walking by the front door. That was different. How? He couldn't get the end of the sentence out, and Emma saw her chance and jumped in. You didn't like Norman, so that was okay. But Helen you've deemed to be the greatest woman in the world, so I'm the devil for knowing about Fiona and Norman's affair. Good night, Emma, Jack snapped and left the front door. Emma felt thin and shaky, suddenly very hungry and cold, standing in the hall under the unforgiving single light. Start that sentence again, shall we? Emma felt thin and shaky, suddenly very hungry and cold in the hall under the unforgiving single light in the ceiling. The rage tears were still threatening, but she stuck out her bottom lip and shook her head furiously at them, absolutely refusing to cry. She padded up the stairs and slammed into the flat. She stripped off her damp clothes and jumped into a hot shower, furiously washing her hair at least once more than she needed to, because she was so distracted by the argument. Jack had made her feel young, stupid, and naive, and she hated it. She felt like there was more to his fury than he was telling her. Perhaps his wife had an affair. She layered conditioner onto her hair and nodded to herself. That must be it, she thought. His wife cheated on him, and so he takes that really seriously. That's why he's so mad. Even with that knowledge in her head, her anger towards him didn't dissipate. How dare he take it out on her? He was perfectly civil to Fiona and Norman in the car, didn't have a word against them on the boat. But when he was alone with Emma, it was okay to take it out on her, was it? She wrapped herself in a towel and padded through to her bedroom where the air felt chilly on her wet skin. She slumped on the edge of the bed, feeling distracted and frazzled by the day's antics. There were so many sentences and arguments raging through her mind, different versions of what she had said, eloquent lines that hadn't occurred to her at all, new intonations for the things she had managed to spit out. She half wanted to go and sit on the stairs and wait for Jack to come home again to reignite the argument, and she half wanted to move out and never see him again. She hated the idea that he was mad. Sorry, can't say mad. That makes you sound like a child, said an irritatingly childish voice in her brain, refueling the simmering rage she had at Jack's behaviour. She hated the idea that he was angry with her, but the thought of apologising to make him forgive her was excruciating. She thought over and over the conversations she'd had with him before the boat trip and couldn't think of a single way that it wouldn't have been achingly awkward to have slipped Norman's marital status into the conversation. Emma thought about drying her hair properly with the hairdryer, but couldn't muster the energy, so she ruffled it harshly with a towel and pulled on her cosiest pyjamas. She had that odd coldness in her bones that follows a hot day, the sort of cold that annoys you because back when it was hot, you forgot you could ever be cold. She wandered into the kitchen and looked at various things she could eat. They all felt too complicated, so she settled for just handfuls of dry breakfast cereal straight out of the box. I'm so curious to know what you're talking about. Grania says, it's because he loves her. Does he love her? He's certainly very cross, and she loves him. He's going to stop by on his way back, Neil thinks. All right, Emma's getting stronger. She certainly cares what he thinks of her. She does, doesn't she? She does. Sexual tension. Is that Laura's signal or mine? Oh no, have I dropped out? Or is it all right? Tom is playing in the other room, so it could be my signal. Am I still here? Have you still got me, gang? But if they get... Oh, Karanya says, if the book's over, then... well, exactly. We'll see how the rest of the chapter goes, shall we? See if Jack does stop on the way back up. If it's buffering, I'm really sorry. Tom's playing Dungeons and Dragons in the other room. We're both sort of streaming, I suppose, so it might be a bit annoying. If ever you do miss parts of it and don't want to try and sort of watch the video, I do put the text version up on my blog every day. I know that the accents aren't there. I have had feedback from several people that the accents are not as strong in the text version, but it is there. So if you miss bits of the plot that who's that bothered about this plot? But right. So she's eating dry breakfast cereal straight out of the box. Everything on the television took too much concentrating, and she was very much still focused on the drama playing out in her mind. It was impossible to follow the dialogue when every fibre in her body was listening out for the sound of Jack coming back in the front door and Elliot's feet, that's not right, feet, bouncing up the stairs. He'd knock for her, wouldn't he? Neil thinks so. Jack was Jack. Lovely, friendly, helpful, kind neighbour Jack that she had thought she had a burgeoning crush on. He'd knock on the door and apologise for overreacting, wouldn't he? Her phone buzzed in her pocket, and she pulled it out, expecting to see a message from Jack beginning his apology from the dog walk. It was from Theo. She wondered if he had a radar for when she was distracted so that he could slip his messages in when she least expected it. Evening. Okay, I can work with evenings. Drinks then? Oh no, sorry, evenings. Okay, I can work with evenings. Drinks then? I usually fancy getting leathered after a day in that office. No one here drinks as much as they used to at the London place. How about Thursday? The brew house? TX. Emma read the message through 3 times. I could just see someone. Ben, oh, Theo can fuck off. Oh, you guys hate Theo, don't you? Poor Theo. What's he ever done to you? Elliot read the message. No, Elliot's clever, but he's not that clever. Emma read the message through 3 times, trying to feel elated and excited. But the situation with Jack hanging over her head was clouding the happy feelings this text message should have elicited in her. She heard the front door bang downstairs and muted the television. It was definitely 2 human feet and 4 dog ones she could hear coming up the stairs. She sat still, waiting for the knock on the door and the resumption of life as she knew it. It didn't come. Sorry, Neil. The sound of footsteps faded out past her door and up the stairs. She sat moodily staring at the silent, bright television. She heard Jack and Elliot moving around upstairs and some kind of sport coming on the television in the room above hers. Sod waiting, she thought to herself angrily, and grabbed her phone, thrashing out a short but affirmative response to Theo and saying how much she was looking forward to drinks with him on Thursday. A small part of her mind was trying to wave a little red flag, but she angrily brushed it aside and turned the television up far louder than it needed to be. Oh, so there you go. That is your chapter. I was feeling a bit petulant that you all wanted to go and see Jack, and I was like, all right, if you're so sure that she's going to go and see Jack, I'm going to make it go badly for you guys. I was talking to Tom about it, and I was like, it's quite interesting because sort of writing this is so different to writing normally, but so there you go. You wanted her to go and see Jack. She did it. It didn't go well. So your question, the first fight. Yeah, they have had a bit of a spat, haven't they? Cruel. Don't you caps lock me, Ben Moore. So your question for chapter 22, yes. 4 weeks, 5th week, 22, chapter 22, starting tomorrow. It's not in my nature to be mean, except to Tom, but he deserves it because he doesn't make me tea enough. But this was quite fun. I wrote it last night. I was so excited to write this chapter. I've been sort of like looking at your comments building up over the weekend and thinking like, what should I do then? What should I do? And then last night, Tom was watching Spider-Man and the Wasp. No, Ant-Man and the Wasp. And so I wrote, I was so excited to start writing. So if Emma's sad, it's your fault. Anyway, your question for tomorrow, you've got beds to get to and jobs to do, is a simple one. Choose one of these items. Your items are a song, a flower, a stone, or fur. And that's all I'm giving you. That's all I'm giving you. You've got to choose one of these items: a song, a flower, a stone, or fur. So pick one of those, and that'll be your chapter for tomorrow. I'd imagine I mean, if lots of votes spring in straight after this, I might write tonight because I'm in a good mood. But if not, then I'll be writing late afternoon. So if you're watching this on catch up, do jump in. And get voting. If you're watching it on catch up and you just want to join in the comments, like, I appreciate watching it live isn't for everyone, but you're very welcome to join in and get chatting. I've recognised some new names today, and we'll be back at 10 p.m. tomorrow. So I thought you said thong. No, don't be so rude. Artworld's already gone for a flower, and Granya's gone for fur. Don't forget to put it in the. I think of them as the solid comments because I find those easier to count, and I can like them when I've counted them. So and if you voted here in the live chat, please also vote in the comments underneath the video once it's posted, just so that I know that they're there for counting. So I will see you tomorrow, and cheers again, and thank you very much for your good wishes. You are the best thing to come out of lockdown, so thank you very much, and have a lovely evening or day. Bye everyone.